organized by 3R Waste Foundation in partnership with All India Institute of Local Self-Government, Urban Update, UN Habitat, and UNCRD Japan. In fact, this webinar is a pre-event of the UNCRD's 3R and Circular Economy Forum, which is scheduled in October and November 2020. The outcome of this webinar will be shared during the deliberations in the 3R and Circular Economy Forum in the coming months. In this series, this is the first webinar in which we are focusing on the municipal solid waste management for bringing sustainable improvements in the cities in India. As you know that we are actually having quite a few challenges that inter alia include poor collection efficiency, very little waste segregation, inadequate processing and disposal, lack of scientific landfill sites, and reclamation of existing landfills. During the current pandemic period, these challenges have rather increased much more. Well, we all know that solid waste management is a public health service whose importance is often understated. When the solid waste management challenge is exacerbated by a public health emergency such as the COVID-19 pandemic, its real significance as an essential service becomes much more apparent. The outbreak and spread of the novel coronavirus COVID-19 actually has led to dramatic transformations of every sector of the Indian society, including solid waste management systems, where formal and informal sectors coexist, often in an uneasy relationship. Unfortunately, strategies for inclusive management of solid waste during and after the COVID-19 pandemic are lacking in the country, fueling the further exclusion of informal sector in the waste governance and policy process in India. This webinar will be looking at the possibility of sustainable waste management during the pandemic situation of the COVID-19 in the country, identify policy gaps in solid waste governance, and highlight the linkages between COVID-19 and solid waste management with a view to catalyzing inclusive solid waste governance and sustainability policy in the developing countries. There is no doubt that under the Swachh Bharat mission during the last 4 years, there has been a great emphasis on the solid waste management improvements in the cities, and cities are doing exceedingly, big effort in this direction to improve the situation. But the COVID-19 situation has added much more different kind of challenges, very particularly because the economy at all level is actually going down. During this webinar, we have 4 very distinguished panelists, basically, who are going to make the presentations and share their thoughts and ideas. First among them, I would say we like to start with Aditi Ramola, who's the technical director at the International Solid Waste Association, where she manages international projects and partnerships with the United Nations, provides assistance to ISWA's working groups, and helps develop innovative projects globally to further strengthen cooperation with ISWA's partners and international organizations. She's a very skilled person, very particularly focused on solid waste management and environmental issues. And as a matter of fact, she has been working with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization in the Climate Policy and Network Unit. She is very passionate about science education and currently leads the ISWA's Young Professional Group Initiative on Education and is the past chair of the YPG. In 2016, she helped launch the regional ISWA YPG in India, which will serve as a platform for knowledge exchange, networking, and developing project ideas to bring sound waste management to the country. I'd like to invite Aditi for her brief presentation, sharing her thoughts and ideas. Aditi Rimola, kindly.
Thank you, Dr. Singh, for a kind introduction and for the invitation to speak at this panel. I'm very honored to be part of the panel today. Ashley, can you put up my presentation, please?
Ashley.
Perhaps he's on the phone.
1 second. Just 1 second. Just 1 second.
Sure, no worries. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. I'm Aditi from ISWA. And before I delve into the topic, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the organization that I work at. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So the International Solid Waste Association is a global, independent, and non-profit association. It is the only worldwide association that's promoting sustainable, comprehensive, and professional waste management, while we also promote the transition to a circular economy. Our mission is to promote and develop sustainable and professional waste management globally. We are a member-based organization and are open to individuals and organizations from the scientific community, public institutions, public and private companies from all around the world, working in the field or interested in waste management. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we have several membership options available with discounts for students, low-income countries, and online memberships and so on. So if you're not yet a member, you could visit our page to find out more by visiting the link on the screen. Thank you. Next slide, please. So coming into the topic, with a growing urban population and the ever-expanding volume and complexity of the waste that we discard, and this coupled with changing household patterns, consumption patterns, waste management has become one of the key problems of modern society. And with the introduction that Dr. Singh gave, you understood also the context of waste management and the challenges that we are facing as a country and as humanity during this pandemic. So the inadequate removal and treatment of waste has always posed multiple threats, including to human health and the environment. With this pandemic, it's only been exacerbated. In 2018, the World Bank released a seminal report called Water Waste 2. That was a subsequent publication to their first edition, which among other important things said that waste generation levels had reached over 2 billion tons per annum. So this is in 2018, and were projected to rise approximately to 3.4 billion tons per year by 2050. That's an enormous change. That's an enormous increase in waste generation. Among other facts, I just want to also let you know that the United Nations has been estimating that approximately 68% of the world's population will live in urban areas by 2050. So this is going to increase demand for robust services in cities and towns across the globe. Another point I'd like to highlight is that several studies have shown a close link between GDP, or as you can describe it as operations and flows of an economy, resource consumption, and waste generation. So there's a big link between all three. So usually what they've seen in the studies is that more the GDP, more the waste generation. Next slide, please. Thank you. So with the COVID-19 pandemic that struck the countries around the world since the beginning of 2020, what we are seeing is that after a period of rapid economic growth, so over a decade of good growth across the globe in all sectors, associated with very high commodity prices, several economies now are seeing a contraction. So if you've seen the reports from the last quarter, several countries are now being said that they are pushed into recession because of the lockdowns and other economic policies that were put in place because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And several countries across the globe are now struggling to contain the spread of COVID-19 while also avoiding a dramatic decline in economic activity. So the current crisis is completely unprecedented. It combines a fall in global demand, tighter financial conditions, and a major supply shock. So what we're seeing in the waste sector is an exponential increase in some waste streams and decrease in other waste streams. For instance, just to give you an example, cities and municipalities across the world and also here in India have been inundated by the increase in personal protective equipment such as gloves, masks, other PPE items in the waste system. We're also seeing an increase in packaging and plastic waste. This is clearly a result of, there's been an significant increase in online retailing, use of food delivery services, other single-use plastic materials that are being, completely proliferating the markets. So amongst it all, maintaining the delivery of basic urban services, including waste collection, which is an essential service, by the way, and waste treatment or management has become a growing challenge for cities and municipalities across the globe, and also here in India. The photo that you see actually on the screen, discarded face masks are piling up on world's beaches and around nature trails, close to water bodies. And environmental groups are basically warning that this waste is posing a huge threat to marine life and wildlife habitats. And this is actually a clear sign of unsustainable waste management systems. Next slide, please. So the waste sector and associated organizations across the globe have been releasing and issuing guidelines on how to deal with waste during the COVID-19 pandemic since the very beginning. So since March, April timeframe, you can see a huge list of publications that have been released, including ISWA has dealt on on the topic and has released a comprehensive list on its webpage. So the 3 priority areas for waste management that ISWA considers are important for the COVID-19 pandemic timeframe is that, we've been, our society has been put to a test. The resilience of our society is now put under test. And so it's become very evident that waste management is an essential service. And it's also one of the most important sanitary barriers to prevent dissemination of the illness. Though, of course, the prognosis has changed since the very beginning. So, at first they said it's okay, transmitted by touch and so on, but now we know it's also an airborne disease. But the continuity of these services is extremely important to maintain good health across the globe. So and another thing is that the health of waste management workers, especially those working in waste collection, should be taken into account very seriously, and precautions should be taken. So PPE should be provided to protect them from any potential infection or spread of infection. The second thing that we also say is that recycling activity should be readjusted to avoid cross-contamination and infections. And the third thing that we've said is that the increased quantities of healthcare waste coming out of our hospitals and clinics should be safely treated and disposed of. One thing to note, though, is that this virus is highly infectious, yes, but in terms of treatment, it's not very complex. So it's not very difficult to treat surfaces or any equipment that you might have used through autoclaving technologies, or just putting the virus through a high temperature, putting the equipment through high temperatures is going to kill it. So it's not very complex to tackle. It's just highly infectious. On the slide that you see right now, you see a snapshot of all the various guidelines that have been issued by global organizations and national governments. On the left, you see the publication that was just released in August 2020 by UNEP. Then we have the ISWA guidelines, and then WHO has also issued some guidelines on healthcare waste. So this is just a snapshot of some documents that have been issued. Next slide, please. So historically, data has indicated that in most industrialized countries, there's a direct relationship between waste generation and economic activity. As I said previously, the GDP is very linked. But we also know that we cannot continue on the same path of resource consumption because there are physical limits to the planet. There are there are natural planetary boundaries that people refer to. And so where do we go next? In the last years, the circular economy concept, or the concept of an economy moving towards circularity, has been extremely popular, and it's going to take even more of a spotlight after the pandemic has passed. We are in the midst of the pandemic, as we said, but it's going to pass sooner rather than later, I hope. And its impact on the people and economy will have long-term consequences. We don't know them yet. We don't know the trends and the impacts yet, but since it's very soon, we're still in the middle of it. But we haven't overcome all the challenges. So these impacts are also going to be felt across all sectors, of course, also the waste management sector. And we will need to start looking at systems that are going to move away from a linear economy, which essentially is on the left of your screen, which is a take, make, use economy. So and waste economy. We want to move to a recycling economy where we are in some countries, we are there, but we want to move to a completely circular economy where your materials are in the system for much longer. So you have a take, make, you use it, you recycle, reuse, refurbish, repair, reuse again, and so on and so forth. And the last step is the waste part of it. So it's essentially a regenerative economy, respecting the natural boundaries of this planet. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as I mentioned before, the long-term trends and impacts of the pandemic on the waste sector and the larger economy are not yet known. We are seeing them slowly, but we can already see some trends that are emerging because of the crisis. So I've just listed very briefly 4 points here. For instance, I feel there's going to be, already we see a digital pivot. We see more and more e-commerce activities as stringent protocols for physical distancing were put in place and have been put in place and so on. So we see an increase in packaging waste and single-use plastics and so on. Another thing we are going to see more of is that EPR systems become extremely important, which are basically extended producer responsibility schemes that come into play. So they make the producers responsible for treating, collecting waste, till the end of life. And so EPR schemes are going to get important. Digitization, we are seeing this already. We are in the midst of a fourth industrial revolution. We're moving towards sensors, we're moving towards other optical technologies. We are moving towards completely interconnected worlds where you can talk to you can actually talk to a dustbin and see if it's full. So you can talk to a logistical operations manager and say, hey, don't have to send the truck this way today because your bin is only half full. So we're moving away from what it was, and we're moving into a digitized economy. And so maybe the pandemic is going to spur us away from manual segregation operations, for instance, and move towards using optical sensors, use existing technologies that already, RFID technologies that already exist. So that's another thing that we see. And we are also going to see a bigger and better materials marketplace. So what that means is that since we have these technologies, we have something called blockchaining. You can look more about it online after this presentation. For instance, you can actually track materials flowing through the system. And so that's giving businesses a good plan of action to minimize disruption to operations, but also take their materials to market. And so there's lots of opportunity coming along for innovation, for use of resources in a better way, and so on. So these are some emerging trends. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so I just want to very quickly also just refer to a recent publication that we've released this month, actually. So we've seen that technology has been rapidly advancing. And as I said, we're in the fourth industrial revolution phase right now. But what we've seen is that the uptake of technology within the waste management sector has been rather slow. So there are some companies working at the cutting edge of this system, but across the globe, we don't see it yet. We don't see it as widespread yet. And hopefully, the global pandemic has given us cause to pause, to actually take stock of systems, to take stock of what is important to us, resilience of economy, of our systems, of our society, and so on. And the pandemic also might help reverse the trend of being very skeptical of technology within the waste sector to actually completely revolutionize the sector. And so, there's sensors, screens, robots, apps, you name it. We can actually use this in the waste and resource management sector. And so ISWA, along with Wiley Publication, it's a big publication house in the UK, has recently published or released a book on Industry 4.0 and the circular economy. So the subtitle is Towards a Wasteless Future or a Wasteful Planet. So the choice is ours, basically. Next slide, please. Finally, so this is sort of my concluding slide. What I want to say is that whatever the long-term impacts of the pandemic will be, some of the key principles will not change, actually. In fact, they become more important as during this time and further on. For instance, ensuring a high level of protection for human health and environment. If you go back 70, 80 years, the whole spur in waste management or waste technologies started because, a bad waste management or unsound waste management, unsustainable waste management was causing problems to human health in Europe. You can look at America. And it's still the basic goal now. Like, we do waste management, we work on this because it poses challenges and it affects human health and the environment. And also, to fully utilize our resources, it is important for us to carefully separate waste at the source. So you must have heard this time and again that if you have a dirty material or if you contaminate it by not source separating, the value of the material goes down. So it's always going to be fundamental that for a good system, and if you want to realize the benefits of high quality products coming out of the municipal solid waste system, for instance, compost, or you can talk about clean recyclables, you have all sorts of materials, glass, metal, and so on. They have to be separately collected and should not be contaminated. Another thing I want to say is think globally, act locally is going to be ever more important. We're seeing more and more, for instance, looking at global issues like just say climate change. We need a coordinated effort. We need a coordinated global response with local action. And similarly for waste management, we need to always do the homework, look at the local systems, look at the waste management in a holistic way, because it's part of a bigger system. It's part of human activity. It doesn't stand by itself. And so before deploying any solutions or technologies, we need to look at it in a holistic way. So this is always going to remain. It's not going to change because of the crisis. The other two things that I've mentioned there are PPP and life cycle of a product. So life cycle of a product, I meant actually, as I said, the circular economy. Hopefully that is going to take off in a big way. And PPP, I actually mean polluter pays principle, not public-private partnership. And this is that, as you pollute, you pay for it. And that would be more, I feel more, it would be that we spread equality across the globe, because otherwise right now what we see is that somebody pollutes, somebody else pays, or it's completely disproportionate. So those are two wish list things that I've listed there. But just to reiterate, of course, the economic impacts of the crisis are not yet known. But what is becoming clear is that we need to look that GDP is not as important as as an economic resilience tool as we thought it before. We have to rethink our systems. We need to see how waste management systems will maintain services while also protecting the health and health of human workers and of human or society as a large. And so COVID-19 pandemic has basically laid to bear challenges. And we've seen growth in certain streams. So we have to look at holistic solutions. We have to look at adaptive solutions and make revisions as we see things come in, because it's going to be, unfortunately, this is not going to be the one and only pandemic. We're going to see more and more of this in the future. That's what scientists are saying. And so we need to see whether we can take our tools and revise, adjust as we are confronted with them. So that's my small intervention. Thank you very much. And we can take questions right at the end.
Oh, thank you very much, Aditi. I think for an excellent beginning that we have made. I think you rightly pointed out with the population increase, I think the waste also increases. In India at this moment, for example, currently as we are talking, in 2020, our urban population is almost like 450 million, which is likely to be 600 million in another 1 decade by 2030, and the challenges therefore are going to increase in any case. Also, I think what you have very nicely highlighted, the need for moving from linear to circular economy for sustainability purposes, because it is the recycling economy which ultimately is an answer for sustainability purpose. Not only that we are able to use those resources fruitfully by recovering those resources from the waste, because what we say is waste is wealth. Actually, it's not a complete waste. It's only the little garbage that actually has to be after taking out all the useful things out of this. Well, very rightly, the things are changing, the technology is changing. We are actually having fourth industrial revolution. Therefore we have to use and apply the technology also in the sector, in the waste management sector. What your concluding slide really underlined was very appreciable. We have to have source segregation, which is an answer. Source segregation is an answer. Source segregation right at the very beginning, where I would say that it is everybody's responsibility. When you focus on public-private partnership, basically, or for that matter, life cycle of the product, it actually underscores basically the need for involving everybody. In fact, waste management is not a responsibility only that of local governments or urban local bodies. It's a responsibility of every citizen. Therefore, there is a need for citizen engagement. It's a responsibility also of the private sector, basically, where private sector has to play a very vital role for this purpose. Uh, well, we do have, another very distinguished speaker, Dr. Roshan Miranda. Uh, in fact, Aditi really highlighted the need for public-private partnership, or I would say the role of the private sector. But I think you will really actually enjoy what Dr. Roshan Miranda has got to offer to you. Dr. Roshan Miranda actually is a co-founder and director of Waste Ventures India. It's a startup providing recycling and composting services to households, waste pickers, and corporates with constant innovation in the space of logistics and waste management. Interestingly, Dr. Miranda comes from a very different background. He has his PhD in genetics and a career in consulting with Boston Consulting Group, where he consulted for Fortune 100 companies. But he moved to India more than 5 years ago to co-found Waste Ventures India, which works with 1,500 waste pickers to avert waste otherwise dumped and hence averting from landfill, burning, dumping, and whatnot. Basically that. Because this also really provides up to 20% an additional income to the waste pickers. I think there is a lot to learn from what Dr. Miranda is going to present, lot to replicate and ensure greater sustainability in our cities for waste management. I therefore invite Dr. Roshan Miranda for his presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. If you guys can all hear me, I'll continue speaking. I think Aditi covered quite a few good points, and I think it's a very good prelude to my talk already. What I'll talk about is what we do as Waste Ventures India a little bit, and then in the context of COVID, how that has changed, how and what kind of interventions are required for us to beat this in a novel change in the way waste management is done, and also what we need to do differently for us in this interim period when the COVID is very active and beyond, right? I mean, we all, this is a very interesting time for waste management companies, because, you know, what we were hoping when the COVID hit us and everything is that, of course, you know, let's hope the disease doesn't affect us as much as it does, as we hoped, as hopefully it doesn't affect us as much. But second hope was that, you know, there is fundamental underlying thinking that, you know, this has been caused by possibly humans due to, you know, deforestation and due to other issues that are you know, very prevalent in the world, right? I mean, it's a very I think it's a very basic view to see that it's one country that is responsible, but I think we all are responsible in one way or the other for the kind of havoc we are creating here. And we were hoping that this kind of rubs off on the waste management sector, where more and more people become very sustainable and responsible in terms of their waste management. While it is true for some, it's not to the extent which we had hoped it would be. Right now, you know, we all know that the issue of waste management is dumping of waste. It creates carbon dioxide, a lot of greenhouse gases. You know, it's 22 different types of diseases. It's the second biggest cause of greenhouse gases in the world. So if we were to tackle greenhouse gases, this needs to be one of the major areas or segments which we tackle. That's all known. How this has changed over time now is that in COVID time, this dumping yard has become a dumping yard for also the PPEs that are coming from the COVID houses. Right? Hospital waste is coming in, not really well tackled. Now that creates a different type of issue, because the waste, when it gets picked up from your house, stops, you know, this waste picker stops at every house in front of, you know, on his way of collection, potentially stopping with the waste that is collected from some other house. And now moving on to collect from every other house, in turn, taking the waste coming in from there, which could be COVID positive at a lot of times. And some of the hospital disposing of their waste into this dumping yards is even bigger concern. And that is creating a big, you know, possible of, you know, rather these waste pickers become carriers of the disease at many a times, and that can be a major concern as well. All right. So now what we need to do here is go beyond our intervention of, you know, how waste management works, but there are certain regulations already in place. You know, Solid Waste Management 2016, maybe Aditi covered it a little bit. You know, it says that if you are a waste producer, you need to manage your waste really well. You know, producer, ultimate responsibility, it's your waste, it's your responsibility, right? It cannot be, like Dr. Singh said, it cannot be responsibility of just the local government. it needs to be your responsibility as well. And the regulation clearly mentions that. But what I see a little bit of missing gap, of course, this was designed in 2016 when COVID was not even a news. What I see a little bit of missing is the importance given to biohazard waste that could be generated in the households. In the COVID situation, it becomes very critical. Even in corporate campuses for that matter, which are responsibly managing waste, they have tons of masks and gloves coming in their waste. They need to keep it separately and make sure that that is handled separately really well. Additionally, do we have technology to manage all this waste? Yes, we are providing solutions to wet waste, which is organic waste. We're providing solutions to dry waste, which is all your plastic, paper, and glass and metal. But we do not have technology that can really cater easily to the PPEs or the COVID-related waste that is coming from all these campuses. A lot more needs to be done in terms of research and development. We are working with National Scientific Advisor to Prime Minister on bringing in technologies from other countries which can handle PPEs and other COVID waste, but that is just in the beginning stage. And I think we need a lot more invention or discoveries that need to happen in this space for us to manage these waste responsibly. Right now, going beyond this, as I told you, we provide solutions in the composting space. We provide solutions in the dry waste space as well. Digital platforms are provided so that people are responsible. But everything happens and everything can succeed only when households continue to segregate their waste. Fundamental of waste management. Aditi has, she harped on this idea, kind of point multiple times. And there is a reason why. And everybody asks me, why should we segregate waste? It's a very, very, very simple question. Why can't we handle waste as it is when it's mixed? I give a very simple example, which is kind of a little more basic, but I think it conveys the point really well. If you were to give us newspaper today, and we work with a lot of paper mills and we'll recycle that newspaper, and we need not do it. Kabadiwalas have been doing this for 30, 40 years so far, right? Many, many years. Now, if you were to give us sambar, idli sambar, which you eat idlis and vadas with, we will compost it very happily. Right now, take the same newspaper, mix it in sambar and soak it for like 8 hours and give us that. Now, neither is paper recyclable nor is sambar compostable. So we have taken two very useful materials, mixed them up and converted them worthless. That is exactly why it is extremely critical for us to segregate the waste. But now the COVID hasn't been helping us. We thought more and more people would be moving towards segregation and making sure waste is separate, and then sustainable living is kind of ingrained in their minds because they have seen a disaster like COVID. While it's true for some, it's not true for many. And it's not true for more number of people than we had hoped it would be. Right? So it's kind of, still not coming into people's mind for them to live a sustainable living. And that is a concern. And I think that needs to be kind of brought in through awareness campaigns, brought in through people, hopefully the Ministry of Environment focuses a lot more, but they have their hands full with the COVID already. And I think this is kind of a secondary priority now, understandably. But I think when we come out of this crisis, we need to think a lot more on how we make sure that this is more on a preventative mode than on a reactive mode. All right. So now coming to waste pickers, we work with around 1,500 waste pickers across Hyderabad. They have been very badly hit. Zero surveys in Mumbai and Delhi suggest that more than 50% of these waste pickers or slums are already COVID positive, and they're probably in their herd immunity stage already. But I think there is a reason why it's happening. These waste pickers who come and pick up waste from all our houses are constantly exposed to our masks or gloves, which we should not be putting in that in the hazardous waste, right? Or even if you do, make sure you cover it really well in a plastic bag and tell the waste picker that this is masks and gloves. Please do not open this. Right. Unfortunately, we do not have a system where we collect biohazard waste separately. Municipalities do not have that system yet. While that system doesn't exist, we have to do what we have to do. Let's make sure at least we tell the waste pickers, inform them, or move away from this disposable masks and gloves and then use washable gloves and masks so that we don't expose these waste pickers with these contaminants. Right. So we work with around 1,500 of these. There is another issue that these waste pickers are facing. We work with these waste pickers to collect not only the valuable recyclable waste, which includes your shampoo bottles or water bottle, We also work with them to kind of procure from them otherwise waste which is otherwise not picked by anybody else. I'll give you an example. Chips packets, your Maggie packets, carry bags, like the flexible plastics that you see. These are not picked up by any waste management company, at least in Hyderabad, and very few startups around the world do it, right? There are other companies, for example, there. But if they were to not work with us, these waste would be burnt by them and they would not be sent to any recycling or upcycling facility. Same is true for Tetra Pak. Same is true for some low value paper, right? While we work with them to kind of make sure that these materials are recycled, whatever we collect from them is recycled, they have been going through another crisis. The crisis is today they're not able to recycle the high value material, which is the shampoo bottles and water bottle, which used to be in high demand in the regular time. Because of two reasons. One is the recycling industry is not active yet because of the lockdown and economic downturn in activities. Now the reduced recycling activity is causing lower recycling happening, and hence people are not buying from waste pickers anymore, right? Or less and less of them are buying from waste pickers. The second is the drop in the crude oil prices, which is a little bit picking up now, makes the virgin plastic a lot more cheaper. When virgin plastic becomes cheaper, the recycled plastic becomes even more cheaper, which means if a waste picker was earning around 20 rupees before per kg for a shampoo bottle, today is earning only 10 rupees. And his earning has gone down significantly. As such, people are not buying. Even if they're buying at a lower price. And that has affected waste pickers in a significant way. We are doing as an organization, we are providing them groceries. We're working with all 1,500 waste pickers and 3 times more. We are working with 1,500 families of waste pickers to provide them groceries for 3 months. But those are philanthropic efforts. I think a lot more needs to come in from the government. What are they doing for their sanitization workers? Are they formalized in the economy or not? Does governments and municipalities, do they have all the list of waste pickers? Right? That kind of thinking needs to come in from the government towards the sanitization workers, specifically in cities like Hyderabad and others, where waste pickers play a very dominant role in clearing that waste. Right? That is something that I definitely wanted to put across about the waste pickers. And apart from waste pickers, we also work with in terms of providing solutions to composting. We provide bins to individual houses, to apartment societies, complexes, even corporate clients. But when it comes to a lot of corporate clients, we recycle a lot of their waste, and we work with them to manage a lot of their organic waste. But now corporate clients or corporate campuses are not filled with employees at all. For example, Google is our client in Hyderabad, which used to produce, we used to work with them to avoid almost 20 metric tons of waste every single month. And today it's gone down to less than a ton. That's fantastic. That waste is not getting produced at all, but that waste has now moved to their households, right? Now, the people who are sustainable and who used to manage their waste are consuming and dropping off the waste, but I'm not really sure if they're actually managing that waste sustainably at their houses. Now, overall, the sustainability has gone down, at least for Google, from Google's perspective. So this shift of working from home, I think corporate campuses and clients need to now start thinking, if they were sustainable before with their waste, how can they be sustainable with their work from home employees? Can we extend composting and recycling services to them at their houses? But there are institutions and organizations that are, open to helping them. But that kind of thinking needs to come from them and think that way in the new reality of work from home. Right? So we have also worked from, this is another example of a village. I'll stop after this. I think I'm running out of time. I'm running very close to 15 minutes time. I'll give you an example of a village we are working with, Gandipet village. It has around, somewhere around 12,000 houses in the village. 2,000 houses are the village and 10,000 houses are the peri-urban, scale up, which has brought in a lot of these, new communities, villa communities, apartment societies, and so on. This Gandipet is right at the bund of Osman Sagar Lake, which is the second biggest lake in Hyderabad, and also serves as a second resource of water, drinking water, in case the first resource dries up. When that lake dried up in 2015 actually, the year I moved to India, people who were on the bund saw that at least 100 meters into the lake from the border, 2 feet of it was all trash. Around the lake, this is a huge lake, kilometers of circumference. Right? Now, they were surprised and flabbergasted. They were like, let's stop the waste picker who's dumping the waste. And they asked him, why are you dumping this waste and whose waste is it? He actually replied, this is your waste I'm picking up from your houses. And I'm dumping it here because that's closer to me and easier. This prompted them to move from managing waste through waste pickers, dumping it to manage their waste in a way that village waste is managed completely. And this is a zero waste village now, and it's beautifully done. Even this village now has seen reduction in the waste that is coming into the management sites. Some of the houses have moved away from managing sustainably to unsustainable practices because in the pretext of COVID. I understand that COVID is a big challenge for societies and it's not easy to manage. But let's not, in the pretext of dealing with one disaster, let's not create another. That's my only request, right? Let's continue to stay sustainable and move, keep those efforts alive while we try to work on another disaster. And same goes for all of you guys. If you're going to shopping, please carry your own bag. Not only avoid somebody else touching your bag and a virus coming through you, also carry your own disposable, non-disposable mask which you can wash and so on, so that there's less and less of waste being produced. Right. So I'll stop. Those are the things that we do, and those are the challenges we see in all the dimensions we work on. I'll stop right there, and then kind of see if you have any questions at the end of the session. But those are the points I want to convey.
Thank you very much, Dr. Roshan. I think that these are some of those excellent messages. One of the basically concerns that you really expressed was about the informal sector.
Yeah.
And as you know that, the municipal waste management rules of 2016 also underscore the need for integrating, this informal sector, rag pickers, workers as part of that. I would like to understand, I think I would say local governments will also like to know, how do you, for example, how have you been doing and addressing and bringing them as part of your sort of, part of your team? Do you think they are now more like a formal workers, or they are still informal? And perhaps I think government really needs to do more. Let's remember current situation in the country, in any case, is economy wise, it's really bad. The GDP going down so badly to -23-24%. That is one. And it is going to impact in any case the local governments all the more. Local governments are already having a major financial crunch, irrespective of bigger cities or smaller cities. Smaller the more, bigger little less. But they also do not have, much of the resources to even pay the salaries of their own employees. How do you really ensure this kind of integration of the informal rag pickers, so that, they also, I would say their needs are felt, and I think we are able to formalize the sector.
So we work with them. So our goals are on two levels at the moment. First is we work with them to make sure that the waste that they otherwise do not recycle or give it to anybody, we kind of buy them. So typically these workers earn around 100 rupees a day. That's the average income we have seen across Hyderabad. It might be a little higher or lower for other cities, but somewhere that is the kind of the median income, I would say. When we work with them to pick up those additional 5 or 6 kilograms of MLP or low value plastic or Tetra Pak, then around 20 rupees to 30 rupees a day additional. That's around just 20-30 rupees a day is not a huge significant amount for any of us, but it's significant amount for them. So we work with them as a vendor who collects waste which otherwise nobody else picks up. All right. Now the second way we work with them is to kind of see, do they need any help in terms of getting their identity cards? Maybe for that matter, let's see if they want, if they're not Aadhaar identified yet, if they need any help in the local areas in obtaining a police permission for some of the work that they do. Are they being harassed by government? Are they being harassed by police because they do not carry the identity card and they don't have one? But beyond this, Dr. Singh, unfortunately, as a private organization, we don't have an NGO arm which can work with waste pickers to kind of impact their livelihood otherwise. The government, the organization that we work with has social impact as a very core principle, and we have to work with them, and we do. Beyond this, we need an intervention coming in from the local government where they actually formalize these and have included them in the list of waste pickers that who works for them. But because of the very weird waste management structure that Hyderabad has, I think they have limitations where they have a contact with somebody else, and hence they cannot formalize a waste picker legally. Because of all those issues, the waste pickers are bearing the brunt of this and not getting formalized at all. So while we do this grocery kit distribution, now we are collecting Aadhaar numbers and more details about these waste pickers, so that in case we can go back in future to the government and then say, can we at least work with these 6,000 waste pickers to formalize them? That's something that we will take up in future. But again, we would need some NGO which can work with us in order to make that happen. Because this requires a lot of bandwidth, not only in terms of time, but also in terms of monetary efforts. And unfortunately, waste management companies like ours are not even making profits yet. That kind of pushes our bandwidth away, and then we would need some kind of philanthropic effort coming in. So I'll stop right there.
No, thank you so much. I think your example should be quite an inspiration for many of the startups in this area, because we do need not one, but thousands of waste ventures in this big country.
I completely
that matter. Yes.
Completely.
I think I like to move on. Basically, we do have, I'll now like to invite a city, the city of Gurugram, which is having its own challenges. And we have from Gurugram, Sonia Duhan, who's the solid waste management expert with the Municipal Corporation Gurugram. Sonia actually is a professional with a degree in energy and environment, which she passed out in 2007. She is also MSc in environmental studies. She has been working in these sectors. Her specializations include solid waste management pertaining to municipal solid waste, biomedical waste, e-waste, C&D waste, and I would say that all kinds of waste. And Gurugram as a kind of city has really grown. The population during the last 10 years has nearly doubled from almost like presently the population is almost like 2 million. And as a matter of fact, it was only about 9 lakh as per 2011 census. So the challenges are really huge, which I think the city government is trying to meet. And I would like to invite Sonia for her presentation indicating how they are really meeting those challenges. Gurgaon also has other challenges of increasing number of COVID-19 cases. And since, as a matter of fact, when we say COVID-19 waste per se, it's not coming only out of the hospitals, it is also coming from homes where people are quarantining themselves in their own homes. And accordingly, therefore, adding on different kind of COVID-19 waste, which this, I would say there's a burden on the local government how to handle that. So Sonia, I would like to welcome you. Yeah.
Thank you, Kulwantji. This was a very nice session, and good afternoon to everyone on the panel and people who are attending it. Already Dr. Roshan and Aditi has already identified the challenges which are already with the waste management sector, which we are facing in India and globally. So I would like to start. Ashley, if you can please connect my PPT.
We've started.
Can you just move on to the second slide, please? Ashley, can you move to, yeah. Just to give you a brief about the Municipal Corporation Gurugram, we had an area of 232 square kilometer with 35 wards, more than 3,60,000 households, and with a population of more than 8,76,000. And this population generates of around 1,000 ton per day of municipal solid waste. And municipal corporation is responsible for a wide range of services, which includes waste processing, sewage system, street lights, sports facility, roads, parks, cleaning, garbage lifting, and various other online services like death certification, online marriage registration, birth certificates, and other. So can you change the next slide, please? Ashley, can you please change the next slide, please?
Ma'am, I have there's probably
The
a
major
network
problem
issue on your side, so that's why it's getting delayed a little bit.
Okay, no issues, no issues. So the problem is when the population is increasing, waste is also doubling every year. And municipal corporation has only one landfill site, which we share again with another city, Faridabad. So Gurugram and Faridabad, they have a common landfill site, which is only of 30 acres. And it has its own life, which is now nearly, towards.
There's a problem of sound, not able to hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes, please go on.
Hello.
Please go on. Sonia, you can go on. Huh?
So there's a network connection problem from her side. Her network is not strong enough, I guess. That's why we're not able to hear ma'am.
The network.
Maybe she can remove her video.
Okay, let me just.
That will help in bettering the audio quality.
Okay.
Yeah, this might help. Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah, that's okay. Kindly
Okay.
continue.
So can you please change the slide?
Yeah, you can define the magnitude of problem. Yes, next one.
Yes. So this is to manage this waste around the city. We have deployed around 5,320 manpower, basically for managing the sanitation in the city. And these are the 4 zones which we have in Gurugram, and the number of workers which are deployed in each zone. So every month, the corporation is spending more than 9 crore on managing the sanitation activities. Next slide, please. To manage it in a better way, municipal corporation adopted a 2-part strategy. One was to manage the waste in a decentralized way, that is within the society, within the city, and at the location near the source, at the location of the generation. And the second was that the centralized processing. Can you please change the slide? To manage the collection, door-to-door collection, we have a third-party organization, concessionaire, MS Ecogreen, and they have deployed approximate 688 primary vehicles, which includes 320 motorized and 362 rickshaws. And all the motorized vehicle, which includes the 326 primary vehicle and 94 secondary vehicle, they are all GPS enabled. We also have 318 secondary bins and 1045 litter bins around the city. We have deployed a specific toll-free number for any kind of grievances regarding the sanitation or the door-to-door collection services. Next slide, please. The concessionaire has also put up 3 transfer stations, which are now operational. One is at Berrybagh, another is at DLF Phase 4, and the third one is Atul Kataria Chowk. Next slide, please. So this is an overlook of how we have come up from 2015 till today on the decentralized waste processing structure. So when we started in 2015, we only had 2 community composting sites. While the city was generating around 700 to 800 tons per day, we only had 2 community composting, and the rest was all dumped at the Bandwari site. While in 2020, we have more than 100 waste on-site composting plants, which are operational at the bulk waste generators. And we have 10 tons per day community composting, wet waste community composting plant. Additionally, we have also issued public notices to all the bulk waste generators with more than 50 kg of waste to ensure that the wet waste is composted within their facilities. And we have also empaneled 11 composting agency to help them, to give them a support for managing their wet waste within the society, within their societies. Next slide, please. These are the few pictures of the societies who are managing and composting their wet waste within their society. So you can see they are different technology they use, the drum, rotatory drum one, the bins one. Next slide, please. We also have one mobile composting unit for the bulk waste generators who don't have space. So for example, in the commercial area, there were marine shops and they don't have much space to start composting of their waste. So this was introduced to help those commercial areas plus the societies who don't have much space, so that waste can be collected, can be segregated, the segregated waste be collected and shredded in the mobile bin, this mobile trash vehicle, and then it is taken to the further outsource site where the waste is all composted. Next slide, please. For the plastic or the dry waste, we identified that there are 10 PET bottle collection centers. These are the bigger one, and 2 paper and 5 UTPs, that is used Tetra Pak carton collection centers, which were already organized in the Gurgaon city. We empaneled them with us, and again we have 5 big PET collectors. So these 10 PET collectors were the smaller one, the collection center, and the 5 one are the bigger accumulator or the aggregators who collect from them and other kabariwalas, and they take it for the recycling. Unfortunately, Gurugram don't have any dry waste recyclers within the city, the plastic waste recyclers within the city. So all the waste is collected and sent out for recycling units in Rajasthan and Delhi. Next slide, please. These are the few pictures of the dry waste collection center. So you can see clearly how well segregated waste is reaching their sites, and then they again color code it and segregate it further and send it for the recycling. Next slide, please. So MCG, to look, when we started, empaneling these dry waste collectors with us, we found out that still, even if we don't have recyclers within the city, we need to have some infrastructure for recycling, for utilizing this dry waste. So we started this road from waste plastics project in 2019. Actually, in 2019 we signed an MOU, and today we have 5 collection centers. One we have MRF, material recovery facility, where they collect the low grade plastic, that is specifically the MLP, and they collect it, they segregate it, clean it, shred it, and we use it in the hot mix plant, and we utilize them for making the roads. So till now we have around 20-kilometer road has been developed using 450 tons of plastic. We have also utilized around 45 to 50 tons of plastic in tiles, which are utilized in the parks for the general for the general public, the morning walk around. Next slide, please. So these are the few pictures of our collection cum shredding center, which we started, and the first road when we laid with the waste plastic in the city. Next slide, please. So another intervention we started was transforming of the open dump sites. So we identified few dump sites and we converted them into learning centers. So you can see clearly in the next slide, please. You can see that there was a site which has a lot of waste was dumped there. So we cleared it. We did the awareness session with the surrounding people. We collected a lot of plastic and we created the site known as the Samadhan Hub. So here the people come and they know where does the waste goes, what we can do to manage this waste within the, within the city level, and how this can be utilized. So we regularly have the classes with students. We regularly have classes with the residents around, and more than 50,000 residents have visited that site, and around 10,000 school students have visited for understanding where does it goes and how to do composting. Next slide, please. So you can see these are the before pictures which we took in the December, and these are the, you know, within 1 month, we changed the location of that site. Next slide, please. The site is now currently utilized for learning, and not just for the residents. We take regular sessions of the Malis, of the households, household helps, because, you know, in Gurgaon, most of the work is done by the household helps, and these are the people who are handling your waste. So the first step was to make them aware about in which bin which waste goes. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So you can see we organize different sessions along with the RWA Safai Karamcharis, and the plastic which we collected, we made different installations just to attract the people and know that, you know, this is coming out your waste. Usually when the plastic is coming out from my home, I'm not much aware that, you know, this is going to create a bigger mess. But when they see it in front of them, when they see, okay, just with the 10 tons of plastic, we created this thing. And imagine how much plastic is going every day at the landfill site and what kind of mess it's going to create there. So this impacted a lot, and people started realizing their responsibility more in the awareness part. Next slide, please. We also organized where sustainable markets at that place, not just to promote the place so that people can come down, they have more options, you know, how to use reusable bags, how to use reusable more products, and to give a livelihood to the SCH, so that they can also, you know, be identified by people, and they can also work along with the government. Next slide, please. Then after plastic in the dry waste, the major issue for us manage was the sanitary or the domestic hazardous waste. While we were still fighting for wet and dry, there's another stream of waste is rising, and specifically during the COVID time. So we organized, what we started was in all the door-to-door collection vehicles, we installed a separate bin for this domestic hazardous waste, and all the public toilets and community toilets which were within the city, we installed the sanitary waste disposal machines there, the small incinerators in all the toilets. Next slide, please. Again, around there is another stream, e-waste. For that, we created a lot of awareness within the people. We, along with the school students' help. This was before the COVID, and this was during the, you know, January, February month. We created a lot of awareness with the kids and MNCs where people were generating more e-waste, and to ensure that this waste does not reach the landfill site and should go to the recyclers. We also impaneled e-waste recyclers with municipal corporation to help people identify where they can actually finally dispose of their e-waste. Next slide, please. We set up the system of e-waste collection. The e-waste recyclers, they installed bins in the societies, plus they also do e-waste collection drives. So every, say once in a week or twice in a month, they identify a day, and on that particular day, all the households, they bring on their e-waste, and that was collected, and we reduce that waste from going to the landfill site. Next slide, please. These are a few pictures of the e-waste recycler, how they are doing it in an environment-friendly way, how they are taking proper care of the safety of the workers, and how they are recycling the e-waste. Next slide, please. These again few newspaper cuttings where how we celebrated the first international e-waste in Gurugram. Next slide, please. And Municipal Corporation also received Scotch Award for e-waste management. We were one of the first municipalities to actually take step towards the e-waste management. Next slide, please.
You can move little fast, Sonia. We are
Yeah,
not
I'll
able
try to, sir. So this is again, see, you can see the picture of our public and community toilets. So we were the first city to get ODF++ during the Swachh Sarvekshan. Next slide, please. This is the little status of the landfill management, which we are doing in Gurugram. So in 2008, we only had a landfill dumping site. So today in 2020, we had a leachate treatment plant there, another two this type reverse osmosis leachate treatment plants, and then legacy waste management, which has started. Next slide, please. So this is the revise of same, what all the infrastructure we have at the processing site. Next slide, please. So currently we have deployed 8 trommels there to process the legacy waste, and bioremediation and biomining process has started. So this way we are able to recover 40 to 50% of the waste from them, and we are reusing the same product. For example, the compost which is coming out, free of it we have distributed to the resident free of cost, and the rest we are utilizing in the horticulture department in Gurugram. And RDF is very soon we are coming up with the waste to energy plant. So before that, the RDF is sent to the cement kilns and the waste to energy plant in Delhi, and the inerts which were segregated are utilized for the low line filling areas. Next slide, please. These are the picture of the leachate plant which we have at landfill site now. Next slide, please. These are the leachate collection storage tanks which are available at the Banwari landfill line now. Next slide, please. This is again the processing, how, what all the 3 different type of products which are coming out after managing the legacy waste. So they are inerts, RDF, and compost. Next slide, please. So you can see the improvement now. So this is the picture which we took in 2019. So see the leachate and everything was flooded. Now it is a way more managed. See, this is the February pictures. Now we have better collection systems at the Banwari site. Next slide, please. Again, the leachate was coming out outside the Banwari plant, but now we have done plantation there, and you can see the difference, the better management of the leachate and legacy waste. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, now coming back to the construction and demolition waste. So Gurugram generate around 300 ton per day of C&D waste, and 8 lakh tons of legacy waste. Legacy C&D waste is, dumped inside the city. Next slide, please. To manage it, Gurugram started door-to-door collection of C&D waste collection. So we are one of the first municipality to start the door-to-door collection of C&D waste. And for this, we have a different agency empaneled with us. All the citizens, they need to declare their C&D waste, which is generated by them during their repair, construction, or the new construction process. And they can pay the fees. The team, they visit the site and do the assessment. Based on the assessment, fees is generated, and they can pay the fees either online or on spot or through our CFC centers. We have also now done the penalty of 25,000 or 25% of the assessment if the worker, if the citizen, they don't declare their C&D waste. Next slide, please. We have again deployed another enforcement agency for managing of the C&D waste around the city. We identified the various hotspots and we cleared all the hotspots. Plus, we also penalized not only this, the illegal dumping violators, but also other organizations like NHAI. Because of them, there were a lot of C&D waste dumped on the national highway. So we cleared it, and we also raised a penalty to them also. Next slide, please. And you'll be surprised to know that during the COVID time period, the maximum recovery for C&D waste was done by municipal corp. So you can see the assessment. So people who are calling us and getting their waste assessed and collected in a formalized way. So a corporation received around 1.3 crore from January till August. So this not only gave us an additional income to the corporation, but also managed the C&D waste which were lying dumped in the city earlier. And see the number of challans. So in 2019, the whole year we were only able to issue around 35 lakhs of challan, and while in this year we issued 47 lakhs of challan, and out of 47 lakhs we were able to recover 36 lakhs of more than 36 lakhs challan amount, which again increased the municipality economy. Next slide, please. We also have a C&D processing plant of 300 ton per day capacity, and it has an enhanced capacity of 1500 ton per day. So all the waste which is collected from the city is sent to the centralized processing for C&D waste. Next
I
slide.
request you can skip some of the slides and come to the point basically,
Next
because
slide, please.
we are very, very late.
Next slide, please. So during one slide back. So during the COVID time, so beside these general services which municipality was managing, the challenges which we faced was the additional services, rise in the biomedical waste. Few of the in the starting phase of the COVID, the processing plant shut down. The communication with the public was increased, and the waste worker awareness and safety was the major concerns. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Ashley. Next, please. So you can see the biomedical waste which was generating only 5 to 7 tons earlier, including the Gurugram, Rewari, and Manesar area, was now increased to 10 tons. And this 10 tons included the waste from the households, the home quarantine. So as the biomedical, we had one biomedical waste management facility, and that facility didn't have much infrastructure to upgrade with instantly during this COVID time. So municipal corporation deployed their 10 separate vehicles for collection of COVID waste from home quarantine centers and isolation centers. We made a separate collection schedule and shared it with all the residents. Next slide, please. So these are the few pictures. So municipality first to identify the homes with the COVID one, we pasted the special COVID poster, again the home quarantine houses, so that the normal waste collector don't mix their waste to the other waste. All the society, we gave them instructions to the society, we gave them advisory, and the society, you can see that these are the society sanitation staff. They also placed a yellow bag, the usage of the yellow bag, and they asked people to segregate their biomedical and the domestic hazardous waste in the yellow bags. Next slide, please. So see, municipality provided these yellow bags to all the residents free of cost, and separately collection of the mask, gloves is also being done on the normal MSW waste in the yellow bags. Next slide, please. So approximately 89 tons of biomedical waste municipality has collected from March onward till August, which is collected separately and is not mixed with the general solid waste. Next slide, please. These are the few example of the advisory which we shared with the residents, and we also pasted on all the public places and the commercial places. Next slide, please.
Kindly move on and conclude.
So the main fear actually when the COVID part started and when the lockdown started in the first phase, the main section was all the waste workers, they stopped working. All the sanitation staff, they stopped working because they were the frontline people who were standing, who were collecting the waste. So they were all scared. So MCG specifically, we distributed the PPE to them. We gave them training at all the sites. We told them not to do the secondary segregation of the waste to avoid any contamination, and all the waste to be directly go to the wet waste to be segregated and goes to the composting plant. So in the composting plant, the temperature rises above 70 degrees. So we asked them not to touch the waste, just sent it for the processing without touching and taking much precautions. Next slide, please. We also gave the training along with the biomedical waste management team. They gave training to all the waste collection staff. Next slide, please. Beside managing our staff, now all the residents, they also have a separate, separate force for collecting their waste. So just to ensure, we gave them also advisory on how they can also keeping the safety of the workers and without shutting down their wet waste manage plants, they can how they can work. We gave them an advisory on this. Next slide, please.
I think you can conclude it. There will be some questions, then you can answer them. Because
Sure.
this presentation will be made available to all the participants. If there will be any specific questions, they can take up.
Oh, we are about to reach the end now. This is the yellow bag campaign, which we have started in municipal corporation, where we have distributed the yellow bags and asked people to, what goes in the yellow bag. Next slide, please. Because I think this is the last slide. These are the various communication which we, shared with the residents about the waste segregation. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Ashley.
So these are the guidelines.
Yes, these are the protocols. These are the things which we shared with the other residents for yellow bags, for managing their waste and for segregation of the waste. So just to summarize that during the outbreak, the three major changes which we observed was first, the waste was more segregated now. Second is the waste is now managed more by organized sector. So during this COVID time, the organized sector role comes up more. Third is the waste which was collected irregularly is become now regular movement. And the key takeaway which we learned from the COVID situation for the solid waste was that even if we have the biomedical facilities with us, but adequate storage and reserved capacity are the need of the hour. They should have this for the emergency situation, just like the COVID. Secondly, the monitoring and recording of waste is also important. And the third is the development of a comprehensive disposal mode, which can include a combination of centralized and on-site emergency disposal of medical and biomedical waste. So these were our learnings from COVID situation of managing the solid waste in Municipal Corporation Gurugram. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, this is a very wonderful, comprehensive presentation by a city which is facing a lot of challenges. There's no doubt the city has done, I would say, that exceedingly well, got a Scotch Award for doing the good work. But I think much more important is equally, which is very, something which is a great learning, is that the focus on decentralizing the wet waste, basically that from something like, a limited number of, RWAs, now 123 RWAs trying to do their own composting. Equally happy situation, which I think I have independently learned as a resident of Gurgaon itself, is that, one of the sector, all the residents decided to do, I would say that segregation of the waste at their source and segregating dry waste separate and wet waste separate. And they have done an exceedingly good job. By so doing, I think they are trying to give a message that, they can improve their own situation very well, because it is the dry waste which, most of it can be easily recycled, and it also brings in money.
Correct.
So with that, I think I like to conclude with that. And we have one last presentation by Francisca from the United Nations UN Habitat. Francisca is an officer of the, Urban Basic Services branch of UN Habitat, has been working in the sector for a couple of years as part of the sustainable waste management team. They have built a program, what is called Waste-Wise Cities program, which is a global program. Several of the Indian cities are also members of that, including the city of Gurgaon. And also there are other cities like Indore and Bangalore and Warangal and Udaipur. And like that, there are several cities which are members. And the objective of that, very obviously, is to make cities around the world waste wise, so that they manage their waste exceedingly well. I like to invite Francisca for her presentation, and I think that's also an encouragement for those cities which are not yet members to become members of this Waste Wise Cities program of UN Habitat. Francisca, please. Actually, she brings a rich experience of working in Africa, in Ethiopia, and also in other cities.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Singh. Thank you for inviting UN Habitat to participate to this webinar. If it's possible, I would ask if you can please share my presentation. Okay, so I see. Okay, thank you very much. Today I'm gonna take you briefly through our Waste Wise Cities program, launched by our executive director a couple of years ago, and how this program is supporting cities in improving on their solid waste management and also in tackling the COVID crisis. Next slide, please. So our program is a call for action for governments and cities to tackle the global waste crisis and enhance resource efficiency towards circular economy business models. The program builds on 4 key action areas. One is knowledge and good practice sharing. The second one is waste data and monitoring. The third one is advocacy and education. And the fourth one is project finance and bankability support. Next slide, please. The program is based on 12 core principles that cities commit to through a letter of intent that can be downloaded from our website. And they sign it. They sign the city representative from the city sign this letter, and they share it back to us with our team, and then they can join. The city can join the Waste Wise Cities program and become partner of our network. So I'm not going to go through all the principles, but as you can see, it touches these principles, touch upon different aspects of waste management, including rethink, refuse, reduce, recycle. So rethink of basically the waste as we perceive it, as we use resources, improve working conditions, empower different stakeholders and work with all of them, and so on. Next slide, please. So as also the previous colleagues, the previous panelists have mentioned, the COVID pandemic is really intensifying the impact on our healthcare systems and our economies. And so ensuring a safe and reliable municipal solid waste management is even more important in this context. And already we had challenges before with so many people, like worldwide, 2 billion people were lacking access to waste collection and 3 billion people to control waste disposals. And also during this pandemic, the waste generated is also changing, and also as we also see that the waste is increasing, especially the healthcare and disposable type of waste. And UN Habitat, through its Waste Wise City, is supporting cities to adjust the municipal solid waste system in different ways. Next slide, please. So first of all, by joining our program, the city will be part of a big network of cities So far, we have more than 170 member cities from all over the world, so from Europe, Africa, Asia, Arab region, and Central and Latin America. We also have an affiliate network that at the moment has around 50 affiliates that go including for-profit and non-for-profit organization. So through this network, the Westwise Cities program facilitates connection and exchange of knowledge and experiences on municipal solid waste generally, and also on activities undertaken during this pandemic, related especially to the waste management. Next slide, please. And also the Westwise Cities program has launched a challenge where cities is it's a twinning program between two cities. One city that is committed to change, the change maker, and a supporter city who will share knowledge and expertise on municipal solid waste management and COVID also 19 in the COVID-19 context too. So far, we have like 9 pairs from all over the world, and we also have the city of Indore that became supporter city of the city of Bahir Dar in Ethiopia. Next slide, please. So UN Habitat and our Westwise Cities team also developed a strategic guidance on solid waste management response to COVID-19. These are the areas that we highlighted as requiring attention during the COVID-19. So to pay attention at like how waste generated has changed and which dynamics are behind, how is possible, how cities should continue to deliver waste collection system and also recycling services, because it's true that we are going through a pandemic, but we also have other crises, especially depletion of resources, which should not go forgotten. And then work safety, attention to waste pickers, especially how make sure that they are protected while doing their work and they continue to carry out their activities that most of the time are the only source of income for sustaining themselves and their families. And also adequate disposals to make sure that infectious waste will not cause other issues and spread the virus even more. And also paying attention at communications, whatever the governments or the local authorities are deciding, it should be clearly communicated to all the citizens and the various actors of the waste chain. And finally, also special attention for the healthcare waste. Next slide, please. So this strategy guidance includes a 10-point strategy. And here I posted the link to access to the full guidance in English, French, and Spanish. So this guidance touch upon different points, but basically the ones I've just mentioned before. And next slide, please. We also, UN Habitat has also organized a series of webinars on how to continue waste management during the COVID-19 pandemic in collaboration with our sister agency, UN Environment, and the Wuppertal Institute and the Urban Pathway Project. So far, we did 4 webinars. One, it was about challenges and opportunities offered by COVID in terms of waste management. The second one was on how to adapt the municipal solid waste management system. And then we talked about the work safety and managing medical and special waste. I also shared here the links to the webinars that can be found both in English and in French. Next slide, please. So our UN Habitat also developed a rapid assessment tool for waste that is monitors municipal solid waste flows in city and is based on the SDG indicator 11.6.1, for which UN Habitat is custodian agency, and is the one that looks at the proportion of municipal solid waste regularly collected and managed in controlled facilities out of the total municipal solid waste generated by a city. And by applying this tool, the city is can assess the status of the waste management, and based on these outcomes, on the results of the tool application, with our support, we can design bankable project proposal, and we can facilitate connections to donors. And so this one can also help in the context of COVID-19 to better understand how waste flows have changed in quantities, in type of waste, and also sources of waste generations. Next slide, please. And this is a project preparation streams and fund mobilization to the Wastewise Cities tool. That basically, as I mentioned, it starts with the application of the tool, and then we have in the identification of infrastructure gaps and critical areas, and finally the design of quick win project proposal and feasibility study on larger waste management infrastructures. And this will lead to funds mobilization, implementation of the project, and finally impacts on the ground. So next slide, please. I thank you, everyone, and I welcome everyone to join our Wastewise Cities program. To reach out to us to our email address, wastewise-cities@un.org, for more information, and to visit our website, unhabitat.org/wastewise-cities, to access the resources that UN Habitat made available for COVID-19 and also for improving waste management system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francisca, for making us all aware about what all cities are doing, basically. How Wastewise Cities program is actually working with so many cities in the world. And I think it's very important for the cities. One thing which I will like to also indicate, that membership of this Wastewise Cities program does not have any price. It is all free of cost, basically. And you have to write to the at the email address to the executive director in this regard, and be a member, because that is also a great platform for knowledge sharing. That is also a great platform for experience sharing, and also with so many webinars being organized and training programs now being planned under this, will be giving a lot of experiences, sharing of best practices and whatnot. So that will be very, very very, very helpful. I would say that, few of the questions which are there, but I think we are running against the time. I would like to ensure all the participants that these questions we will be sharing with the concerned panelists, because couple of them have actually left. They were in a sort of hurry with other commitments. So we will be sharing these questions with them, and after getting their responses, we will share with all the participants of this program. But there has been a lot of learning from this webinar. This webinar has really indicated that municipalities are doing their best, but at the same time, managing the waste is everybody's responsibility. Therefore, we have to involve the citizens, we have to involve the private sector, we have to involve all other stakeholders, and we also have to take care of the informal sector, the waste pickers and others, because that is also a responsibility for all of us, because we are generating waste, and therefore we should be responsible for that. Local governments are also having a financial crunch. They were, even before COVID-19, basically they were having financial crunch. It is going to be much more now after that, because overall economies globally all over the world are really facing, a kind of negative gross domestic product, GDP as we call it. Therefore, I think we all have to really ensure that we contribute for better waste management. I take this opportunity thanking, first of all, I would say that all the panelists, distinguished panelists, for their wonderful presentations. With their permissions, we will be sharing all these presentations to all the participants. And I would equally like to thank all the participants who joined us in this program, and even those who have not joined the program here. I think this program will be available on the Facebook, and this can be viewed also on the YouTube. And therefore, actually, and we will be making an announcement for our next webinar as part of this series. And this series, as a matter of fact, is committed to UNCRD's main program of 3R and Circular Economy Forum, which is going to be there in October and November. And I would like to also thank UN Habitat for their big contribution in this webinar. And we are looking forward for a greater cooperation with UN Habitat, All India Institute of Local Self-Government, Urban Update, and others. Urban Update will bring out a kind of summary proceedings of this in the next issue on that. With that, I would like to close and thank you, all of you. Thank you very much and for joining us on this.